great group of senior boars we've got out here, and I think good quality all the way through this breed. While we might only have one heat of them and might have less numbers than what we found in some of our other age brackets on the male show, I certainly think the quality is very good, if not deeper, better than several of these divisions here. And I think we start off with an absolute monster, to be quite frank, in our 27439 entry there. And I think a boar that is just so extreme in terms of his heaviness of skeleton, in terms of his lower feature and mass when we study him, in terms of the power he's got from the top of his hip down to his hind leg and where his rear heel and his feet meet the surface. He's a big, broad, stout boar in every capacity there, and yet still one that can get around and motor. I like the set there to his shoulder. I think it reads adequate for how he's able to tie his neck into it. I think he reads with the appropriate amount of flesh and fill on the lower portion of his body, and yet he's still masculine up high when we study him from loin edge to loin edge. I think a very, very good place here to start off with. My compliments to the breeder that was able to put that boar together there. Entry number 39463 is going to be our second place in this division there, and I think a boar that's also admirable, and I think can also move the needle from a sire perspective within one generation there of piglets being born. And I think one that maybe just doesn't have just the raw feature or raw power down at the surface when we studied the size of his foot or up into his ankle and cannon is what we found in that class winner there. But I still think one that can give him a run for his money in terms of his internal dimension there, perhaps even bigger in terms of his flank and his lower belly cutout line there, great in terms of his rib shape, good in terms of his balance up high when we study him from his spine back to his hip there. A boar there that, like we talked, while we might not read quite as heavy in feature or just outlierish, I guess, in terms of his overall makeup there, one that I think offers a lot of good. We step in behind that boar. I think he's extreme in terms of his width. He's able to handle that with some squareness and some comfort, it looks like. A lot of good there. He runs into an awfully good boar above him. It's an awfully good boar in his own right, and I think a very deserving reserve in this division. For third out in this division, I like our 37-646 entry there, and a good boar it's probably just a bit indifferent, I guess, from the first two in this class when it comes to just flesh and power and chest capacity as he drives towards us. I didn't read him to be just quite as stout or blown apart in terms of his skeleton there, but I do think at times that boar has an advantage in terms of his range of motion and his comfort off of either end of his skeleton. Takes a long step. He's able to extend that rear leg forward and pull it back past his tail head. He really fills his tracks, and we can admire those things about him. Very loose in terms of his shoulder joint, very comfortable up front in terms of his reach and his go there. Like we talked, beef him up just a little bit in terms of his power, open him up a shot more in terms of his chest, and I think he's right there with the rest of them. Certainly appreciate just looseness of skeleton and athleticism there in that boar. 4 and 5 in this division. For me, I like entry number 40949 to go ahead and be fourth in this division. I think one that, like we talked there, I think has some feature there that can match and rival our class winner in terms of just forearm spread and rear bone circumference there and power at the lower portion of his skeleton. I didn't read him to be probably just as confident or just as athletic off of his rear skeleton as what the boars were in front of him. I read him to be just a shot more generic in terms of the set to his neck and his cleanliness up front, but I still think a moderate-bodied boar that offers a lot of good and can still make a very good foundation of females with the amount of set and power he's got on the lower portion of his skeleton. Should be an awfully good sire, and I'm sure he has been to this point. We round out this division with entry 33950, and one that's maybe just a bit more non-typical, I guess, for the breed, and for me personally, not quite as good in terms of his breed characteristic when we study him through his head and his neck, and just a boar that reads to be a shot more one-dimensional when we begin to study his body wall. He's just a shot flatter in terms of his rib. He's a shot shallower in terms of his flank. I didn't read him to be as heavy structured down low, but I do think in terms of fixing feet and leg issues, whether it be pastern strength or squareness of toes, that boar is exceptionally good there and has a place. I read the angle to his hind leg to be awesome. He's got great flex as he steps and he goes. And he still leads with a very good set to his front ankle as well. Like we talked, just need to make him just a shot more, typical for breed in terms of his head and his ear set there. Just need to open him up in terms of his body wall. Congratulations on a very good class of senior yearling boars.